If All right, thank you very much for that, Joshua. Ebere Chuku, Saki Bright. Good to have you all join us today. Now, I want you to let's do something very quickly before we continue. All right. I want to know where you're joining us from. Okay, so I want you to just type into the chat if you're joining from Lagos, Nigeria, joining from Glasgow, Scotland, joining from Edmonton in Canada. Just type in your location into the chat. Joshua is joining from Kenya. Fantastic. Lagos, Iberichuku, Lagos. Brilliant. George is also joining us from Lagos. Oman, Bright, good to have you join us today. All the way from Oman. Damilola is joining us from Alberta. Ope from Canada. Absolutely phenomenal. All right. We're expecting a lot more people to join, but we'll start and then they'll join us along the line. Today's session is more like a conversation, and our session today would be for about 1.5 hours or possibly less than that, okay? And what do we want to achieve today? A lot of people have been asking, how do I become a Scrum Master? How easily? And I always tell people that, look, one of the easiest pathways to get into tech, to be a tech bro, a tech sis, a tech talent anywhere across the globe is to become a Scrum Master. But a lot of people don't know what a Scrum Master does. What's the fundamental role of a Scrum Master? They find it difficult to comprehend. So we're going to demystify the role of the Scrum Master today and why Scrum has become a role that is so high in demand simply because of the type of methodology deployed by Scrum Masters. Okay, so that's the essence of our session today. And that'll take us about 1.5 hours. And then I'll be very happy to take your questions. So I'll go ahead and share my slide and then we'll kick off with the main meat of our session today. Okay, just confirm that you can see my slide. If you can see my slide, just type in a yes into the chat and then we'll move on. So mastering Agile for a tech career and how to get into tech as a Scrum Master. Okay, Otaki can see the slide. Fantastic. So 2 things I'm going to talk about. The role of the Scrum Master, number 1. Okay, I'm just going to mute everybody so we don't have distractions. The first thing we'd look at is the role of the Scrum Master. And would compare that to the roles that already existed in the similar value chain within project management. Okay, because a lot of people don't know that Scrum or being a Scrum Master also means that you're a project manager. Okay, but I'll be explaining that today as we move along. So I'll talk about that and then I'll tell you how you can transition, because people find it very difficult to get jobs. And that's simply because they've been applying to jobs the wrong way. So how do you apply to jobs? What should be the focus areas? How do you structure different things in your CVs and so on and so forth? I'll be breaking that down for us today. All right. So let's dive into the session. So first of all, some of you don't know who we are at Tenalytics. So I'll do a 1-minute introduction. So who are we and what are we all about? We are an educational technology company, Tenalytics, helping Africans in the diaspora, Africans in Africa, and the Black community in general get into tech. And one of the ways we are doing this is by providing premium training program across different areas. Areas like data analytics, data science, Scrum, AI engineering, HR analytics, and so on and so forth. So we help you lower the barrier to entry into the tech ecosystem by equipping you with the skills, because that's the number 1 thing that you need. And that's why we here at Analytics ensures that having the skills is a given, and you must have that skills before you even go on to look for the other aspects that will get you the job eventually. And we pride ourselves by providing cream of the crop professionals and facilitators that train you and help prepare you for the tech ecosystem. All right, so that's in a nutshell who we are. We've been doing this for the last 3 years, and over the last 3 years, close to 4 years now, we've helped over 2,000 people transition from the classroom to getting their first jobs in the tech ecosystem across different areas. All right, and I'll just do a bit of introduction about myself as well, and also the co-founder of Tenalytics. So I haven't introduced myself. My name is Adeza Suleiman. I'm a data analytics expert with close to a decade years of experience working across 5 different sectors, focused on helping organizations make sense of the data that they have to help companies take decisions from the data that they have been able to derive. I've worked as a data science consultant in the UK, in the US, and I started my career as a management consultant. But along the line, I transitioned from management consulting into data analytics. And I've trained well over 8,500 people across my career, spanning close to a decade. And of course, you also have Femina, who is the co-founder of Tenalytics, data science contractor, worked in the UK, the US, in Canada, worked to help the post office lead their data transformation within the company itself in the UK. He's worked as a BI developer, worked as a data engineer, worked as a Power Platform engineer, and of course also has close to a decade years of experience. And the goal and the mission for myself and Femena is to bring in as many people that look like me, who are Africans, either in Africa or Africa in the diaspora, to get into the tech ecosystem. Okay, how were we able to do it, and how can you also do the same? And that's one of the reasons why we are here today. And I'll just walk you through what we are expected to touch on. 3 key areas I'm going to touch on today. Number 1 is how Scrum would get you into tech the fastest. How you'd get a job as a tech talent the fastest, getting a Scrum master skills or getting the skills of a Scrum master. Okay, we are also going to look at Agile and Waterfall. Waterfall and Agile. Okay, are they different or are they the same? And if they are different, how exactly are they different? What do they entail? We'll look at that, okay? And when you look at waterfall, you're simply talking about the traditional ways or traditional methodology of running projects. And when you look at Agile, you have the more modern ways of executing projects, okay? So these are 2 different project management methodologies, and also applying to jobs as a Scrum Master. So we're going to open up different, maybe LinkedIn, we'll go on LinkedIn, we'll go on read.co.uk and a couple of other websites to look at the Scrum role and see what the role entails. Because I always tell people that the best way for you to start to apply to jobs, the first thing is the job requirement. Okay, if I'm going to transition into Scrum, what are the skills I need to learn? What are those things that are important for me to understand? So when I apply to jobs, I can get the best possible outcome out of those applications. Okay, so we're going to dive into the very first part today. Where are the opportunities in Scrum? Is Scrum high in demand? As a Scrum Master, do I stand the chance of getting a job? So I'm just going to show you clips and bits and pieces. And I would advise you on what you can also do to help with your research, searching into the Scrum Master role, irrespective of where you are, okay? So where are the opportunities? One of the first things I always like to see, or I always like to read, is this report called the World Economic Forum Report on the Future of Jobs. Okay, if you don't read it, if you haven't read it, please ensure that you read it. Now, why is it important that we read? So this is just an excerpt, okay? This is a clip out of the full report. But what I've done is to also keep the link for you to access the report, okay? Now, it's important for you to note that when I'm applying to a job or I want to transition, I've always done something else. Maybe I've always been a project manager, I've been a product manager, I've worked in logistics, I've done a whole lot of things, but now I want to transition into something new. I've been hearing about Scrum. I heard that Scrum is very high in demand in the US, in Canada, in the UK, across Africa. How can I latch into the opportunities that exist in Scrum? One of the first things you want to do is ask yourself the question, will this particular job role be relevant in the next couple of years? So in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, will this job role still be relevant and in demand when I've done this for 5 to 10 years? It's very important you ask yourself that question, because you don't want to get into a new role only to find out that that job is declining. And in the next few years, you become irrelevant, and you're likely going to be one of the few people within an organization that will be retrenched. And I'll give you a very typical example, okay? Still on the slide that we have here. Now, the left-hand side shows jobs that are growing in demand. So you have the growing jobs. And at the right-hand side, you have the declining jobs that will decline in demand. Okay, so if I read this, I can then take a very detailed decision on the career path I want to move into. And if I show you one of them, there are a couple of career paths and different roles that would stay relevant over the next 5 to 10 years. And one of them is project management. Okay, project management. But when you look at project management, it's very broad. All right, project management is very broad, and it constitutes the typical project managers that you know. Okay, you have the Scrum Masters, you have the Agile coach or Agile coaches, and so on and so forth. So there are a couple of roles embedded into project management. Okay, so when you see project managers, one of the roles that will grow in demand, it sends a signal to you. And you also compare that with the trends and the number of jobs available within the space. It means that if I get into Scrum, if I'm a Scrum Master, it is within the project management ecosystem. I can apply to jobs, I can get jobs and still remain relevant in different organizations. All right. But now imagine that you are applying to a job as a software tester. Okay. Now, if you look at this role, it's also a very popular role today. In 2023, 2024, it's a popular role. But guess what? This job over the next, by 2027, is going to decline sharply. You can see this purple line over here. That shows a decline in the demand for that job. So for people, I've had a couple of people come to me to say, hey, Adeza, I think I want to transition. I want to become a software tester. It's a role that I've been seeing a lot of job, adverts on this particular role. And I tell them that, look, hey, it's a good role, no doubt about it, but just for the short term. If you want to do this for a year, for 6 months on a contract, fantastic. But if you want to take this as a career path going into the future, it's not the best for you to do. Why? Because the role will decline in the next few years. Okay. And it's very clear. The World Economic Forum has been very accurate with their predictions, because who are these people that come to shape the future of work? And these are the billionaires, the politicians, the people of influence. They gather in Davos and they make all these decisions and shape where the world of work would be going to in the next few years. Okay, so project management is definitely one of them. So if you're a project manager, you are a Scrum Master, you are an Agile coach, you have an advantage, right? Because that particular job role would grow in demand over the next few years. So that's on the one hand. Again, and this is where I always tell people, it is very important that you also do your research. Never get into a career path without doing your own research, okay? So do your own research. Very important, okay? So for us at Analytics, what we do is at the end of the year, towards the end of the previous year, we analyze the entire job boards, the major job boards across different regions. We couple that together with the World Economic Forum reports, and we do our research across different platforms to see the roles and the career path that will be in demand in the next 5 to 10 years. Because if we're going to come to advise you and tell you that, look, these career paths are fantastic for you to learn the skills, easy to transition, easy to get a job. You want to rest assured that these jobs will be relevant in the next 5 to 10 years. Okay. So Randstad, for those of you in Canada, you know Randstad. Randstad is a very, very popular job board in Canada, most especially. They're also in the US as well. Now, they talked about the Scrum Master role, and I would love you to read it if you can. Okay. And Randstad simply talked about the fact that the Scrum Masters on the average in Canada earns about $124,000 per annum. It is ridiculous, 6 figures. It is absolutely ridiculous. And at a point, even me, myself, I started to think that maybe I joined the wrong career, okay? Because as a data analyst, I can tell you for free, you will do a whole lot more technical work than the Scrum Master. You're going to learn Excel, you learn Power BI, Tableau, SQL, problem solving, all those very, all those techniques that sound very fancy. You're going to learn all those things, and you still don't earn 6 figures. But the Scrum Master or the Scrum Masters can earn 6 figures easily and faster than you. Okay, and why is that the case? I'll be very honest with you. I really don't understand why that is the case. But over the years, I've come to understand the fact that over 40% of projects fail. 40% of projects in companies fail. All right? And why do they fail? They fail because they don't have project managers that can see those projects through. Now, remember, a project manager is not just the conventional project managers you know today. In fact, the conventional project management role is getting phased out. Okay, the conventional project management role is getting phased out. So a conventional project manager would need to do something differently to stand out from just the next person who is also trying to apply to that job. All right. And I'll talk about that as we move on during the slide. So because organizations want to execute projects, especially within the tech ecosystem, you see so many applications today, fintech springing up left and right and center all over the place. These applications, these tools that come up regularly with updates here and there are designed and deployed. They are deployed by the help of Scrum Masters who work as the project managers within that organization. Okay, so the Scrum Master is simply a project manager that helps to deploy those projects, that help to manage the smooth operations of those projects that lead to those different applications eventually. Okay, and I'll talk about that. And because this becomes very, very important, companies want to release products to the customers, to the market, products that fit the demand, that meets the customer at their point of need. The Scrum Master now forms a critical role, the person who plays that role to ensure that that product is delivered, and not just delivered, but delivered to meet the customer's needs. Okay, so this is one of the major reasons why this is a very important role in any organization. They ensure the smooth delivery of projects, leveraging the Agile methodology. Okay, so in Canada, you have Scrum Masters earning 6 figures, $124,000 per annum, about $64 per hour at some time. And you can see clearly the reason why is because of the high demand. The what? High demand for the role. Okay, and even entry-level positions attract high salaries. Even entry-level positions attract high salaries. And like I said, that's simply because of the importance in ensuring that products are released, products are delivered at when due, and to meet the needs of the customer. And the way it is only possible is because of the expertise in Agile. And we'll talk about Agile and why Agile is very, very important to the Scrum Master. Okay, so this is just one trend, and where you'd see the reason why Scrum Masters are very high in demand, number one, and also why the demand for Scrum Masters is on the rise across different regions, right? Forbes also released a report talking about the demand for Scrum and how the Scrum teams becomes a very important team within organizations. Becoming a certified Scrum Master gives you that opportunity to get a job in a company, work with them to help them deliver on these projects, leveraging the Agile framework. And you have so many, all right? Scrum Master, one of the highest paying jobs in the US. This was a post by the Washington Post. Okay. And like I said, what I want you to do, I'm in Australia, I'm in New Zealand, I'm in Switzerland, I'm in Sweden. Do your research and check for the Scrum Master role. All you need to do is go on Google and type the demand for Scrum Masters in Australia, and then you see the massive, massive opportunities within the space. All right. And this is one of the few roles I've seen that you get paid a whole lot for less. Okay, it's one of the roles you can get into the fastest. And when I say the fastest, you can become a Scrum Master in 2 weeks. Because the certification to become a Scrum Master takes you study of 2 weeks. If you can study for 2 weeks, you can pass the exam. Take it to the bank. I guarantee you can pass the exam. 2 weeks. However, the way we deliver the Scrum Master program goes beyond just the theoretical. We're not preparing you to go pass an exam. We are preparing you for the job. So you're not going to do it for 2 weeks with us. You're going to do this for 2 months. You'd learn in class for 1 month, working with a professional who is a certified Scrum Master, working for fintechs across the globe. Teach you all the concepts you need to understand, all the frameworks, all the techniques you leverage as a Scrum Master. And then after your 1 month learning, you then move into the internship. The internship is where you get to work on a real life project, managing the project from start till finish. So you build a web application from scratch. So you'd work with the software developer, you'd work with the product owner, you'd work with other stakeholders on that project to deliver that particular result. So the Scrum Master role is a role that, like I mentioned earlier, you want to get into tech the fastest, the least technical, the Scrum Master is the way for you to go. All right. Now, we're going to go into Agile and Waterfall. And people see these things and they get confused. Oh, what does Waterfall mean? What does Agile mean? Has anybody seen a waterfall? If you've seen a waterfall anywhere, just type in a yes into the chat. If you've seen a waterfall, just type in a yes. You've seen it, maybe you've not seen it in real life, but you've seen it on TV. Just type in a yes. Absolutely. Teresa says yes. Ope says yes. Waterfall moves from the top to the bottom. So it flows from the top and it flows down, down, down until it gets to the bottom. And that's simply the way waterfall works in the real world of project management. And like I said earlier, waterfall is the old school. This is traditional, okay? Old school. Especially if you want to get a job in the tech ecosystem, you want to work in a fintech, you want to work in a startup, you want to have the Agile approach, the Agile methodology, understand the Agile framework to project management. Waterfall is very, very traditional, okay? And I would explain this using a very simple example, right, of what waterfall is. Waterfall simply indicates that if I have a project to complete, I'm going to first of all take out my time to plan, okay? So for waterfall, I'm going to plan. Make sure that I plan very well, all right? All the resources that I need, everything is, ready. I can envisage what we are going to need, what we don't need, the costs, and so on. I plan everything. So planning takes a while, okay? Because to get it done using the waterfall methodology means you have everything planned out from the beginning. Who would be on the project, every single resources you plan for it. So it takes time, the planning, okay? So you take time to plan. Once you have planned, your project then goes in a sequence, all right? So you complete So it moves in a sequence. Let me put it that way. So you complete one task, okay? Complete one task, and then you move to the other task before you move to the other task. And that's why it's a sequence. You complete this, you move to the next one. Complete this, you move to the next one. Okay, so it moves in a sequence. Now, when you have a project in that manner, what happens? You complete the entire project. So let's say this project took you about 6 months to complete all the tasks. 6 months. After 6 months, what happens? You deploy. So it's either you are deploying to the public or you are delivering it to a client. So you have just one client, or you are working on a product that you want to deliver to the general public. Now, when you deliver to the public, this is when you start to get feedback from the public. So guess what? You have taken out time to plan. You have done your planning very well. Fantastic. You've completed task upon task upon task upon task. For 6 months, you were doing that. You've completed the task. You've completed the project. You have a product, and then you deploy the product. Now, when you deploy the product, what happens? Customers would start to use the product, or your clients would use the product and give you feedback. When customer gives you the feedback, you then, if the feedback is major, you have to go back and start to look for how to make changes to that particular product you have deployed. Simply because the customers did not have the opportunity to see the product, test the product, feel the product before the product was completed. And this is the typical waterfall methodology. You do things step by step until you complete the entire process. But Agile is totally different, okay? And waterfall is called predictive. It's called the predictive approach. Predictive what? Approach. Because you can predict everything. You can tell what would be needed. You've planned your resources right from the beginning because you can envisage what you're going to need, how much you're going to need, what applications you would use, and so on and so forth. So it is called the predictive approach. But Agile is adaptive. Agile is also called the adaptive approach. And of course, for anything that adapts, what does that mean? It means that I'm not going to figure everything out right from the beginning. I'm going to figure it out as I go. Okay, so the first thing is, you don't need to have a fully fledged plan. You don't need to have a fully fledged plan. Your plan is what? Flexible. You have a flexible plan. You want to deliver the same product that these guys took 6 months to deliver. You're not going to come up with all the resources at once because that will take you time. This is what we want to build. We want to build the new Facebook. What do customers want to see in the new Facebook? Customers want to see that they can upload their images, all right? And they can comment. Can we quickly create an application that can take customers' images and also take their comments? We want to create that feature in our own application, all right? So you don't need to work in sequence. You could have different members of the team working on different features of that particular product at the same time. So first of all, it is flexible. You're not figuring everything out. Secondly, it is not sequential, okay? You test, you build, you test, and adapt. Okay, so you have one person or a team working on a feature, maybe the UI UX, designing how the application would look like. Another team is working on the feature to ensure that the application can upload pictures and so on and so forth. Okay, so different teams working on different things. Once you then have something that can go out to the public, not a fully fledged product, no, but a product that we can test, you then do what? You deploy. You deploy to get feedback. You deploy to do what? Get feedback. Once you deploy to get feedback, customers will test the application. They would use it, or your clients would get to use the application. So if they've tested it and they tell you that, oh, I think we need to have this feature, we need to change this from this, we need to change this from that, what happens? You go back. Now you haven't built the entire application. You're just building and testing. So you go back and you keep on what? Iterating. You keep on changing. So you iterate and change, test, and you keep on deploying until you have that product that can go out that fits exactly what the customers want. Imagine trying to cook jollof rice. The waterfall methodology of cooking jollof rice is I have my tomatoes, my onions, my condiments. I have everything already figured out. Okay, I put my water, I fry my tomatoes, and I put my rice and I boil the rice until the rice is done. When the rice is done, I start to serve it to my guests. Some people will say, oh, it's too salty. Some would say it's not, you don't have, it's not very hot. It's not very spicy. I would have loved more spice. Some would say, I think you added too much oil. Okay, so you get all this feedback after the rice is done already, and there is nothing you can do afterwards. That is the waterfall way or the waterfall methodology using jollof rice as an analogy. Agile, on the other hand, you have you know that to cook jollof rice, you need tomatoes, you need rice, and a few other ingredients. You don't need to have all the ingredients, okay? Now, you know that what is important to different people in the way they taste the jollof rice. They want the rice to have a very good texture. They want the tomatoes to be a certain color and so on and so forth. So as you cook the rice, you give a portion of your guests to taste the rice and tell you, is the texture okay? They say it's okay, fantastic, the rice is done. You prepare the tomatoes, add it to the rice, you give it to them. Do you like the texture of the tomatoes to the rice? And they tell you that this is good, or just add a little bit more oil. You go back, you add a little oil, you continue the cooking. And when the cooking, a small portion of the cooking is done, you serve it to a portion of your guests, maybe about 5-10 people. They taste the rice and they say, the rice is good, but I think you should add a little bit of Maggi to ensure that it tastes a lot better. The food you then serve to the general public is that one that contains every single ingredient that the customers had tasted earlier and said that you should add and you should remove. So with this way, you are serving the customers exactly what they want and not serving it to them after everything is completed. You cannot make changes any longer. And that's the major difference. And if you know the way the tech ecosystem works, it moves very fast. Companies want to build applications, they want to build products and push out the product as fast as possible. And that's why you get a WhatsApp. The next week, you have an update on WhatsApp. The next week again, you have another update. You have updates upon updates upon updates. And that's simply because as you have the product and you are using that product, Meta is getting feedback from you as the customer. And what happens? They use that feedback to make the product better and then give you more updates. And that's what the Agile framework embodies. All right. So looking at Agile and looking at Waterfall, if you ever want to get into tech, you would have to understand the Agile framework. You're not going to do that with Waterfall. It's very difficult to get into the tech ecosystem as an expert in Waterfall. And that's where the Scrum Master comes in. Okay, I'm just going to rub this off and then I'll highlight exactly where the Scrum Master comes in. The Scrum Master is an expert in the Agile methodology. I talked about the predictive approach. Predictive means you figure out everything, you know everything that needs to be done to get the product or get the project completed. Predictive, you have Waterfall. All right. Adaptive, meaning that I don't need to figure out everything. I'm going to what? Adapt on the go. As I hear from my customers, as I release that minimum viable product, it doesn't have to be complete. Let them use it, let them test it, give me feedback, and I keep on iterating, keep on improving it. This is where you have the what? The Agile. Okay. And the expert of Agile is called who? The Scrum Master. Okay. The Scrum Master. And this is the reason why Scrum is also very, very prevalent across the tech ecosystem. Right, and we're going to dive into that a little bit when we start to search for jobs and start to look for the skills that you need to have, the required skills to get into Scrum. Okay, so I just have a little bit of comparison for you over here. We use the rice analogy, the jollof rice analogy. So with Agile, you can see that it is iterating. You do what? You plan, you design, you develop, you test, you deploy, you review, and it goes in a cycle until you have that product that fits the customer before you what? Launch the final product. But with waterfall, you first of all gather all the requirements possible. You design, implement, you test, verify, you do maintenance, and what? You do what? Deploy to customer. So here you would have completed everything from start to finish, and it is difficult for you to iterate. So in terms of flexibility and adaptability, Agile wins it any day, anytime, because you can make changes. You don't have to create the final product before you send it out. On the other hand, waterfall would require the complete product. You need to know all the requirements before you even start with the waterfall methodology. The Agile is also incremental. You don't deliver everything at once. WhatsApp never used to do the video call. They never used to do the WhatsApp channels. They never used to do the WhatsApp community. Okay, everything about that product was never figured out, and it was built and deployed, and it kept on. You have incremental delivery, and that's what Agile also does for you. So you build with that in mind. You build with the focus that I would have to update. I would have to improve incrementally, no matter how little, and that's what Agile gives you. For the waterfall, any update can only be done after you have deployed the entire project or the entire product. Okay, so if for any reason you get feedback and those feedback requires major issues that needs to be addressed, it's going to cost a whole lot of money and take a whole lot of time for you to address that. Your customer is involved in Agile. They work with you. They help you, produce that particular product. They help you deploy by giving you feedback to make that product better. So when you're releasing it to the customer, what happens? It fits the need of that customer. It meets their need. It gets them at that pain point, and they're easily, they're easily attached to your product, and they easily would adopt that product a whole lot better compared to the waterfall, where you only get to hear from the customers after the product has been launched and sent into the market. Okay, making changes at that time becomes difficult and more time consuming. We're going to look at how Tesla has been able to utilize the Agile methodology. Okay, who founded Tesla? Let me start with that question. Who founded Tesla? Or who is the founder of Tesla? Just type it into the chat if if you're aware. The founder, Tesla. I'm sure a lot of you know Tesla. You'd have seen it across. Some of you have driven Teslas. You've heard about Tesla and so on. Just type in the chat. Who is the founder of Tesla? Bamidele says Elon Musk. Benjamin says Elon Musk. I want to get more response. I want to hear from you guys. Type into the chat. Dora says Elon Musk. Dan says two brothers. Could it be two brothers? Could it be Elon, who really found Tesla? Yisao says Elon Musk. For all of you that said Elon Musk, you're all wrong. Okay, and I think it's just Dan who has the correct answer. So who is the founder of Tesla? Of course, it's not Elon Musk. You have Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. I hope I pronounced their names correctly. They founded Tesla in 2003, not Elon. Okay, how did Elon come in? Elon came in when the company was bankrupt and they needed a new credit line of about $6 million to get them, back on their feet. And Elon provided that. And that was how he became the CEO, became the co-founder, and he took the company to where no automobile company has ever gotten to, ever, in terms of market valuation. No company, Tesla, if you combine all the other automobile companies, Mercedes, Jaguar, Land Rover, Tesla is still more valuable than all those companies combined. And that's the value Elon was able to bring into Tesla. And how did he do this? Especially applying and utilizing the Agile approach. Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit. How was Elon Musk able to take Tesla to where it is? So first of all, we talked about incremental delivery. Tesla was never built from scratch. Okay, so what did Elon do? Elon realized or wanted to test or validate that customers would want to buy a premium electric vehicle to drive. Okay, that if the electric vehicle is premium, it looks good, customers would want to buy. That was his hypothesis, and he needed to test it. Now, testing this hypothesis, typically what people would do is they start to build, they invest a whole lot of money and take a whole lot of time building that vehicle. But Elon didn't go that route. He deployed the Agile approach. And how did he do that? The chassis of the vehicle was not built from scratch. They did not design, they did not manufacture the chassis from scratch. They took a vehicle that already existed called the Lotus Elise. They took the chassis of this vehicle and they used it to build the first Tesla Roadster. Now, remember, Elon wanted to go into this business, all right? At the same time, he realized that if I'm going to invest a lot of money manufacturing cars, how am I sure that the customers want this type of vehicles? So he needed to validate that. And he worked using the incremental delivery approach. So I'm not going to build everything at once. I'm going to build it step by step. So they didn't build their chassis from scratch. They used the Lotus Elise to build the first Tesla Roadster. When they did this, they also realized that, look, the electric vehicle would need batteries. And most electric vehicle manufacturers would also build their battery plants. But for Tesla to build their battery plants, that would cost a whole lot of money and take a very, very long time. And they didn't have that time to wait to validate what they think the customers would like. So they used the regular technologies of batteries that existed. The lithium-ion batteries, they didn't need to manufacture specific type of batteries for the vehicle. They used already existing technology. It is electric anyways. So if the customer buys the car, they drive the car, it is powered by an electric, by a battery and an electric motor. Okay, so let's all use existing technologies that we have in the market. So they use your typical lithium ion that you use in your mobile phones, your laptops, and so on. Okay, what else did they do incrementally? They did not waste time to build all of these things from scratch. All right, they took what already existed, and rather than using or building a battery factory, which they eventually did, they used existing batteries to power the first ever Tesla vehicles. So when they got this off the ground, using the chassis of the Lotus, getting batteries that already existed, and they built the very first Tesla, and customers started to buy. They saw that customers had a preference for specific other features that they did not have. They also saw that the customers would also like a different model. And the type of batteries that would eventually power the vehicles have to be changed. They need bigger batteries that would store power and can charge faster, and so on and so forth. So what did they do? They eventually built their own battery factory, which is the Gigafactory. However, they did that way down the line and not at the initial stage. When they built and deploy to the market, they got feedback from customers. Customers were willing to pay for a premium electric vehicle. Customers also suggested different other features that they could deploy on the Tesla. And because of this, they were able to build several features. The autonomous driving did not come up with the very first Tesla. The autonomous driving came up way after they had created the very first Tesla. And they decided to build their software down the line and integrate it into all the other Teslas they had created before that time. Now, Elon Musk could have sat down and think about all these things. I want to build the Tesla. The Tesla should be self-driving. The Tesla should have this particular type of battery, this particular type of body, which would, of course, depend on the chassis. So we need to build a chassis from scratch. We need to do all these things. They'll take a lot of time, spend a lot of money, and at the end of the day, realize that the customers don't even want that type of product. So what did they do? The Agile approach, and did things incrementally. As they built and deployed, they saw that we needed to make more changes. We needed to add these features, and they were able to do that. They got the customer feedback. They were flexible and they adapted to the demands and the changes. Any new feature that came up, they integrated into all the other Teslas that they had built. They eventually built the Gigafactory for battery production, but this came way after they had built the Tesla vehicle. And this is a classic case study for the Agile methodology. And so many other organizations use this methodology. Spotify, all your fintechs, they all deploy the Agile methodology because they want to churn out these products. They want to get your feedback and design and deploy something that fits your need. Okay. Now, once you understand, who understands the difference between the Agile and the waterfall? Before we move on, just type into the chat. If you understand the difference between Agile and waterfall, just type in yes into the chat before we go on. Just type in yes. Somebody's saying, wow, Google is confirming this right now. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what the Tesla model is. Elon never built Tesla from scratch. He only transformed Tesla using validating his thoughts by deploying the easiest possible product you can create rather than creating the fully fledged product. Test, make changes, iterate, give it back to the market, test again. And today, Tesla is more valuable than all the other automobile companies combined. All right. And that's the value you can derive using the Agile methodology. Every company, we at Analytics in-house also leverage the Agile methodology, the different features, the different aspects of the programs we offer, how to make it better, how to improve this and that. You have different teams working on that. And these updates always come in from time to time. And that's the way a Scrum Master would go into an organization and deploy this framework to ensure that that organization delivers on products that are not just efficient, but also meets the demand of the customers, right? Now, most of the time, a lot of people would have learned the skill of becoming a Scrum Master, the different things you need to know, which I'll be touching on in the next 5 minutes. But then they struggle to get jobs. Okay, because at the end of the day, the eventual outcome is I want to get a job. So how do I ensure that I have the skills, I can sell myself, I can tell a potential recruiter that I can do this for you? Okay, but it goes way beyond your skills. It goes way beyond your understanding of the Agile framework, the Agile methodology, sprint planning, how to carry out the Scrum ceremonies and so on and so forth. It goes beyond that, and it goes to very much more critical aspects that helps you land the job eventually. And I'll be speaking about them in a very short while. The very first thing is a lot of people put the cart before the horse. Okay, I talked about this last week, Sunday. And you have a lot of Scrum Masters out there. And I told you at the beginning that to get the Scrum certification, anybody, you don't need to have done it before. Okay, you don't need to have even worked before. You can read and pass the Scrum certification in just 2 weeks. Okay, and because of this, a lot of people focus on only trying to get the certificate, and not just for the Scrum Master role, generally, especially people from the African region. Okay, it is called the paper ceiling. There's a paper ceiling that everybody feels, I need this certificate, I need this certification to get the job. But that is doing what? Putting the cart before the horse. Okay, so you read 2 weeks, you write the exam, pass the certification, you have the certificate. What next? How do you convince a recruiter? How do you convince a potential employer that you have done these things before, or you can do these things? And that's why the practical experience of doing these things, you find that a whole lot more important than even the certificates. And I've told a lot of people this. If you join my sessions, I tell you to go read these reports. The report is called Competence over Credentials. If you haven't read it, please read it. Competence over Credentials is an article from the Boston Consulting Group, BCG. Competence over credentials. Organizations would recruit you. They are recruiting for your competence. They are recruiting based on what you can do and what you have done, and not based on your credential, that you have a particular certificate or a particular degree. We are gone past that stage. And so many organizations will tell you that they don't care if you have a master's. They don't care where you studied. You studied in Africa, you studied in Nigeria, you studied in the UK, you studied in Canada. They really don't care. What can you do? Have you done this before? And that's why the very first thing you need to consider is what? The skill. The skill before the certification. All right. So you have somebody who has the carts and the horse is behind. How do you ever move forward? You are never going to move forward. Okay. So this is one of the major reasons, or one of the major factors why people don't get jobs. The second part is trivializing the job application process. And we're going to look at a couple of rules today related to Scrum. Okay. Trivializing the job application process simply means I apply to 3 jobs and expect that I get 1 interview out of 3. Except you are the luckiest person on earth. Then you see things like that happening. Okay. So you want to churn out volume, but not just volume. You want to churn out quality volume. Okay. Quality volume. So you never underestimate, you never trivialize the job application process. Applying to a job is a job on its own. You have to do a lot of things. You have to match your CV. You have to tailor your CV to that particular job role. Okay. And lastly, people don't know how to sell themselves. All right. Very simple things around tell me about yourself. Simple things around tell me about a time you have anchored a sprint review and what was the outcome of that sprint review. Or tell me how long you typically take during a Scrum event or a daily Scrum. Or just simply as simple as introduce yourself. Can I get to meet you? And I've interviewed so many people. I've sat at the different ends of the spectrum as an employer and as an employee. And you find out that questions as simple as tell me about yourself, people struggle to answer those questions. And that's why you need to prepare. You need to understand the frameworks to answering these questions, because yes, there are frameworks for you to answer these questions. For example, the SEAT approach is a technique you learn. This, if you join a 10 analytics program, this is one of the first things you do during your mentorship session, using the SEAT approach to introducing yourself. S for skills, E for experience, A for achievement, and T for traits or type of person. So when you're introducing yourself, you're not just speaking, saying, oh, I'm from Nigeria, from this local government, I'm from Kogi State or Okene local government, I'm the firstborn of my family. You're not saying all those things because nobody cares about that. You talk about your skills, you talk about your experience, your achievements, and your traits, and how to put them together. Introduce yourself, giving a very powerful introduction. Any recruiter would want to hire you. Okay, and these are the three major reasons that we have seen that stop people from getting jobs. Okay, so you can't move forward, like I said, if the focus for you is only on certification. You have nothing to show, no proof of work that you've done this before. All right, nobody would hire you. You struggle to get a job, and we have so many of them. They have certifications across different areas, not just Scrum, different areas, but they can't get a job because when you get into an interview, an experienced professional would see through the cracks. They would see that you don't have experience. There is no depth because you have not worked on projects. So the focus should be on building a portfolio. And how do you build a portfolio? You work on projects. As a Scrum Master, have you led a project before? If the answer is no, but I've passed an exam, I've not led a project, why should I hire you to manage my project if you haven't led a project? Okay, so building a portfolio becomes very, very important. Also, learning in public. How do you learn in public? You learn something, you talk about it, you write on Medium, you write on LinkedIn, you put yourself out there, you talk about things around Scrum, around Agile, around Waterfall, as simple as what we've done today. Difference between Agile and Waterfall, 1, 2, 3, you write it on LinkedIn. So when anybody goes out there, does a search for a Scrum professional, somebody that understands the Agile methodology, yours would come up because you talk about that. So that's learning in public, okay? And of course, like I said earlier, it's not just volume, but it has to be what quality volume. Every job application must be tailored to fit the requirements of that job. So you must always tailor your CV and you must always match your CV to the job. And of course, like I said, if you don't have sales skills on how to sell yourself, you'd struggle to ever get a job. All right. So again, a lot of people think it's impossible. I can't get a job. I've been in the UK. I've completed my master's. I'm in Canada. Everybody's going into care. Everybody's going into this, going into that. I don't think I can get a job. Okay. I'm sure I can only do the things other people have been talking about, because that's one of the things you see. You have a group of people, and I call it the herd mentality. Everybody wants to do a particular type of job. And because of that, every other person, follows that path, which is very wrong. So do you have people that have gone through the same path, walked the same path you are trying to walk today? And absolutely, there are numerous success stories. I'm going to come back to talk about these success stories. Okay, I'll come back to talk about the success stories for different professionals across different regions and how they were able to transition, right? Somebody like Abigail. Abigail used to work as a care worker in Saskatchewan, Canada. Today, she's transitioned into business analysis in Edmonton. She passed through 10 analytics. And the only thing that helped Abigail, I'll tell you for a fact, one of the major factors that helped her get this job is what? Dedication. So if you tell Abigail, Agile is adaptive, she writes it down. So any day you ask her, Abigail, tell me a little bit about Agile, she'll tell you that Agile is adaptive, because these are terms that professionals would want to hear. They want to hear this. Agile is adaptive. Agile is delivered, helps to deliver products in incremental stages. Okay, so these keywords, Abigail had a notepad where she wrote all these things down. And don't take my word for it. Listen to Abigail when you receive the slides and you'd hear all what she had to say. Okay, you have Biola, who also did the same. Biola transitioned in the UK, used to work as an accountant in Nigeria. You had Sade, who also had never done anything in tech, but then she got her first job as a data scientist in the UK. And of course, you have Benga, who stayed in Poland for 2 years, couldn't get a job, joined 10 Analytics. We worked with him, prepared him for his interviews, and he was able to land a job he called the job of his dreams. And I'm very aware, like I always say, Benga's salary is absolutely phenomenal. Okay. And that was because I worked with Benga during his interview, everything, his recommendation, his references. Listen to Benga and hear what he has to say. All right. I'm not going to dwell too much on that. We'll come back to talk about these professionals, and maybe I'll play 1 or 2 videos for you before we call it a day. You have Tammy, who is a lawyer, transitioned into business analysis from being a lawyer. You have Ramat, who also transitioned in the UK as a business analyst with full visa sponsorship after training with us. Okay, I'll talk about all of them. We're just going to skip them for now. Okay, now as a Scrum Master, like I explained earlier, how do you function to help companies address the problems that they have? And like I said, you're a project manager. Your role is to go in there, work with the different teams, ensure the project is delivered from start to finish without issues, and you deliver a product that fits the market, that the market would utilize and meet the customers at their point of needs. And how do you do this? You do this by leveraging the different Agile approach. Okay, you're going to use the Scrum rules. You are the experts in that area. You understand the Scrum rules. You know how to plan your sprint, the sprint planning, sprint reviews, and so on and so forth. You have your daily Scrum, which is just simply your daily meetings. All right. And these things can sound very technical, but they're actually very simple. Most of you have been doing this already, but you haven't just categorized it into these different, terminologies. So as a Scrum Master, you're simply helping your team members, the product owner. You are the coach. You are like a coach, ensuring that everything is done the way it should be done. And we are not missing out on any feature that we have decided to leverage and decide to build. Okay. How do you then become a Scrum Master? What do you need to learn? Of course, you're going to learn about the introduction. You learn about the product backlog, okay, the Scrum team and artifacts. You learn about increments and the sprint backlog, okay? You learn the different Scrum events. And of course, the Scrum events includes a whole lot of different aspects. You have your sprint planning, you have the sprints, you have the daily Scrum, like I said. And what is the sprint? What does a sprint mean? A sprint means, in the literal word, you are moving from point A to point B very fast. That's a sprint, more like a dash. You are dashing down from point A to point B. So you want to build a product. You want to build the new Facebook, like I said. The Facebook would have feature A, feature B, feature C, feature D. Now let's assume feature A is for what? Uploading images. Feature B is for comments. All right? Feature A and feature B, images and comments. Feature C and feature D are also other features, but maybe not as important as the first two. So the first two features, where the images will be uploaded and people can comment on those images, are the most important features listed out of all the features that you have. So during your planning, your sprint planning, you identify those features that are very important for us to deploy to the market, or for us to test and see if this meets what the client wants, what the customers want, and what the public would also be using. Does this fit it? So once we identify the most important features during our sprint planning, the sprint itself is where we take maybe 2 weeks to 3 weeks to build and implement these features. So that's the sprint. The sprint is where you have different tasks, different features you've identified that you want to build, you want to create and test very fast. And you take about 2 weeks, 3 weeks and build those features and products. Once you are done with that, you come back to what we call the sprint review. The sprint review is when you then look at, okay, we've done the images. You can upload images now. You can also write comments. Did we build something that met our requirements? Okay. Are there areas where you think we can, add more features and so on and so forth. You review what you've done, you test what you've done, literally. That's what the sprint review is. And once you are done with the sprint review, you have something called the retrospective. The retrospective, which is where you're trying to look back and say that these are the improvements I can make based on these new features we've created. And looking at the full product going forward, we need to add 1, 2, 3 changes. Okay, so all these things are simply just terminologies for events that you carry out as a Scrum Master. Your daily Scrum is where you have 10, 15, 30 minutes meeting, short meeting to look at the progress of each team. So as a Scrum Master, you have your developers, you have your different team members, and then you get the progress very fast. What's the progress? Do you have any blockers? If there are blockers, you work with that team to help them address the blocker. And that's your role as the Scrum Master. Okay, so that's what the sprint is, the sprint planning. And these are called Scrum ceremonies. Okay, these are the ceremonies that happen as a Scrum Master that you'd have to deploy. The Nexus Scale Scrum, this is where you are deploying the Scrum and Agile methodology across a larger scale, multiple teams building and working on multiple products and projects. Okay, and of course, we would also help you prepare for the PSM, the Professional Scrum Master examination, would help you prepare for that examination. Remember, like I said at the beginning, 2 weeks is enough for you to read and write this exam and pass. Okay, we are going to work for 1 month, learning all these key areas from 1 to 6. When you do that for 1 month, you will then work as an intern, where you're working on a real life project, building a web application. So all the things we've talked about, we want to build that next tool, that next application that exists. You all use different applications from your banks, you use different applications from the fintechs and so on and so forth. Okay, you would be building your own application. Of course, you wouldn't build it yourself, but you would work with software developers, you'd work with different other stakeholders to build that application, but you would leverage the different Scrum rules, the different Agile approach to project management to ensure that the web application is built to fit the purpose of why that application needs to be built. So it's a 2-month immersive learning journey. You're going to learn for 2 months, 1 month in class and then 1 month on projects. And when you're done with this and you have your certificates, you then become that professional that doesn't just have a paper, but can defend that paper because you have actually managed a real world project. You didn't just read to pass that exam. You've actually worked as a Scrum Master, managing a real world application, building a real world application. You're going to build, you're going to test, you're going to gather those user stories, what the users have said, the feedback, and you look at those features. What feature do we need to implement based on the feedback from customers and so on and so forth? And that's the Scrum Master program that we offer at Tenalytics. And the Scrum Master salary, like I said earlier, is absolutely phenomenal. In the UK, it's over £52,000 on the average per annum. And I'll tell you, for most tech roles, this is way above. This is above the salary of a data analyst, above the salary of a data scientist. Interestingly, like I said, it's always still shocks me when I see this, but the reason also emanates from the fact that organizations need to get projects completed. And not just completed in the way that they are able to save money and they're able to build products that would fit the market. There must be a product market fit at the end of the day. And the best way to get that done is through the Agile approach. All right. So for 2 months, immersive learning journey, you'll be learning all these different areas and utilizing tools like Jira to track project deliverables, Trello for project collaboration and ensuring that you're able to track the project of different team members. And of course, Confluence as well is also one of the most important tools you'll be working with as a Scrum Master, in addition to all the other, tools for meetings, like you have your Zoom, your Teams, and so on and so forth. Okay. Why 10 Analytics? Okay, I've listed all the amazing areas, and I've told you it takes 2 weeks to pass the exam. If you go do your search for the gentleman who was searching on Google, search for the Scrum certification. It takes 2 weeks to prepare and pass that certification. But the difference is with 10 Analytics is the focus is not on you getting the paper. The focus is on you learning the skill. So right on the first day of the job, you can put that skill to use. When you go into an interview, all the things you've done when building that web application, you can talk about it. This was what we did. This was how I managed this particular project. We had daily scrums. We had our sprint planning included this, and that. You talk about all those things, and the recruiter would see that you have done this before. I've been in interviews where I can tell when people talk about things that they haven't done. It's very clear. You ask them 2 follow-up questions and they get confused, because reading theoretical concepts is totally different from application. Applying those concepts in the real world, totally different. All right. So one of the reasons why you would learn with analytics, absolutely phenomenal what we've been able to do over the last 4 years, like I said. And in 2023 alone, we were able to help over 850 people to transition from the classroom to getting their first jobs across different regions, from Africa to Canada to the UK to the US, across Europe, and so on. And you have some of them on our slides. We always like to, sell our story. We always like to show these people to you. All right. So you can see that these are people like you who never had the skills in these areas. But what happened? They decided to learn, pick up the skills, apply to jobs, and eventually they were able to land those jobs through the help and approach that we provided for them. And I'll share some of the approach with you too. Okay. So why learn with us? Up-to-date curriculum, right? Industry experts. You're working with the best in the business. The Scrum Master Facilitator is an absolute phenomenal professional. And I can bet for everybody in Nigeria and for anybody who has lived in Nigeria, not even just in Nigeria, in West Africa, if you've ever lived in West Africa, it doesn't matter if you're not in West Africa anymore, you would have used some of the applications that this particular individual has been able to deploy to the market, working as a Scrum Master, okay? And that's going to be your trainer, right? It's a blended learning approach where you get to learn on Saturdays and Sundays, and then you also get bite-sized videos that you can watch to help cover some areas and cover some gaps that you might have when you get to practice a couple of things. You have questions, you have very simple explanation of terminologies, difference between Agile and waterfall. You have that in a video you can always refer to, you can always reference at any point in time. All right. The additional employability services, which is the major reason when we say we've been successful over the last 4 years. This is the reason, and I'll share the strategy. For those of you who want to deploy the same strategy, this is what you must do. And of course, the internship designed to simulate the real world environment. Okay, for anybody who comes to 10 Analytics, you would get to understand that it is totally a shift from what you are used to. Okay, it's a total shift. It's theoretical. We don't believe in this. We are 100% practical. Okay, and that's why every program comes with an internship. The internship helps you put all those things you've learned in class into practice, working on real world projects. All right. And of course, at the end of the day, you get into the career path that you want to. So looking at the additional employability services that I said I will talk about, what has made us so successful over the years, it is layered into 3 different aspects or phases. And the first phase, which we call the level 1, is the CV review sessions. Okay, so a lot of professionals, and I've seen this happen so many times, people come to us and all we need to do is just to work on their CVs, and they start to get interview requests. They get called up for interviews left and right and center simply because they now have a CV that can beat the ATS system. And I was teaching a class the other day, and we tested something in class. There was a job role that we used as a case study. Okay, so you understand the power of ATS. ATS means applicant tracking system. Applicant tracking system. And you understand how powerful this is, how this alone can make you fail that initial stage where you get called for an interview, right? The job adverts requested for, let me try to remember. Yes, the job advert requested for Postgres. Okay, now on the gentleman's CV, the CV had, so the job advert wanted Postgres. Okay, Postgres is a database management system. The person's CV had PostgreSQL, which is pretty much the same. PostgreSQL. Now I want to ask you guys on the call, you have a job advert that requires you to have Postgres, and your CV, you have PostgreSQL. Now I'm telling you from a professional perspective that they are the same. But when you apply to this job with this CV that has PostgreSQL, do you think the PostgreSQL would match the Postgres? And then your CV would be seen as somebody who has the skill in Postgres. So I want to hear from you. If you think it would match, type in a yes. If you think it would not match, type in a no into the chat. Do you think it would match? If you think it would match, type in a yes. If you think it won't match, type in a no. Okay, no. Dora says no. Obironke says no. Iberichuku no. Okoye says yes. Stella says yes. Sammy says yes. Yes for human screen. Unfortunately, human beings don't screen these CVs. Unfortunately, human beings don't screen these CVs. And that's where the applicant tracking system, comes in. Organization uses this particular software to filter out CVs that don't match the job they have put out there, so that they can only get to, review the CVs of people who match and who could be potential candidates. And when we tested it using a platform, 2 platforms. We tested it using a platform called JobScan and another platform called Jobalytics. It was a practical class where I was teaching them how to tailor your CV to job applications. We tested it using JobScan and Jobalytics, and guess what? It did not match. So if you think you have PostgreSQL on your CV, and a human being is going to look at it and say, oh, the job advert says Postgres, the CV says PostgreSQL, yes, this candidate matches. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So as little as this simple mistake could cost you points, because what the ATS does is the companies have a set point where if you meet that threshold, you get called for an interview. If you don't meet it, you don't get called. So if that threshold or benchmark is 85%, and because of something like this, you get 80%, your CV will be yanked off and you don't get called for an interview. So it forms a major difference into who becomes successful and who, falls out of line eventually when CVs are being reviewed and getting called for interviews. And that's why the CV session is very, very important. So what we do is we've seen this as a major factor over the years, and we have sessions where we show you how to do your job matching, how to also tailor your CV, leveraging different tools from ChatGPT to JobScan to Jobalytics and so many other tools you'd leverage to ensure that if you're putting out that application, you're doing it with a CV that will get you the best possible outcome. You also have LinkedIn optimization. This does 2 things for you. It attracts recruiters And it also helps you fulfill that principle of learning in public. Okay, learning in public is absolutely important. Let me tell you what happens during master classes like this. After the master class, when I go to my LinkedIn tomorrow, LinkedIn just sends me a notification and I'll see that 350 people viewed your profile. Why are you viewing my profile? You want to know who I am. Who is Adeza Suleiman? Has Adeza really helped so many people? Is Adeza really the founder of Tenalytics? Has Adeza done all these things? You would want to validate. You'd want to check. Okay, and this happens all the time. Now you are a professional. You want to get a job as a Scrum Master. You want to get a job as a data analyst. But I go to your CV and I don't see anything related to Scrum. I don't see anything related to data analytics. How do you get the job? Okay, and this has actually happened to somebody, real life. The lady eventually got the job. Luckily for her, I'll tell you about her story. Her name is Sonia. She's on my slide, and I'll talk about that. So LinkedIn optimization becomes very important. You need to show people that what you have on your CV aligns with your LinkedIn. Very, very important. So we work with you. We don't have a LinkedIn profile. We help you create one. And of course, Upwork optimization. We're going to go on Upwork today. We have time. I want to wrap up this session before 10 p.m. Okay? Before 10 p.m., I want to wrap this up. So Upwork optimization, this is where you get to work on freelance projects, freelance work on remote jobs, remote projects. You can choose the type of projects you work on. And this is the perfect opportunity for Scrum Masters. You don't need to be on ground. You can work remotely and apply every single technique and approach that you need to deploy, helping companies work on projects. You'd see company hire project managers, Scrum Masters to work on specific projects that they want to execute within the next 6 months. So to do this, we need to bring a team together, all right? And to get those type of projects, getting them on Upwork becomes very important for you. And I'll show you. If you don't have an Upwork profile, we create one for you. You have navigating the job market. How do you search for jobs? Where are the opportunities? For those in the UK, I'm going to show you something very important. If you're in the UK, you want to get a job that can pay you ridiculous amounts of money. Okay? And I always tell people this because people also they fall for this, all right? Everybody wants to rush to get especially for students. So this strategy is for students, okay? Students want to complete the program and then get a sponsored job. That's the perfect way to go. You get a company that can give you the COS, you can apply to a tier 2 skilled worker visa, and you're home and dry. Okay, fantastic. But I always tell people that, look, that is a long-term goal. All right. What you want to also do or consider, don't close the door to the potential of earning ridiculous amount of money. And how can you do that? You can work as a contractor. You can work as a consultant. And if you work as a contractor, you can earn a whole lot of money. All you need to get this job is the skill. You need to have proof that you've done it before, which you do in your internship. And then you start to apply to these jobs and go sell yourself. You get a job as a contractor, you can earn as high as £500 per day. Per day, not per week, not per month, per day. As high as £500. And would see those roles. I'm going to show you those type of roles. So you do this for 1 year, you would have gathered a war chest of a whole lot of money. And then you can relax. So you apply for your post-study work visa. You have your post-study work visa that keeps you in the UK for another 2 years. All right. And you take a full 1 year to work, earn a whole lot of money. You're more relaxed. You have very good savings. You have a buffer. And then you start to apply to jobs that would sponsor you. Okay, this is a strategy that has worked for so many people. So the focus is not just on sponsored jobs. Sponsored jobs can be difficult in terms of the duration it will take before you eventually land that sponsored job. So give yourself time, all right? Get a job that pays you fantastic. So you do this for 5 days a week. You have £2,500 per week. Of course, let's say, you have your tax and everything. At the end of the day, you have your tax and everything. At the end of the day, you'd have about 2,000, maybe 2,250 or thereabout. Multiply that by 4 in a month, that would be about 11,000, if my mathematics is correct. So you're earning this type of money in a month. Sorry, that's 4,005. That's 9,000, sorry, not 11. Okay, so you're earning about 9,000. And of course, for anybody living in the UK, earning this type of money you are at the top 1%. To be at the top 1% in the UK, all you need to earn in a year is £60,000. If you earn £60,000 per annum in the UK after tax, you are the top 1%. Top 1%. So you get to earn a whole lot of money, and we'll show you how to apply to these type of jobs and so on and so forth. You have interview preparation. You've applied to jobs, you've gotten interviews. You need to understand how to prepare yourself when you get into that room. How do you answer questions? I talked about that in the previous slide. Using different techniques, how to prepare so that you're not caught unawares and you know how to answer those questions off your feet. Recommendation and references. Organizations every single day reach out to us to provide references for people who have gone through us. The beauty of being a Tenalytics participant is you don't put it on your profile or your LinkedIn that you are a learner. You never do that because nobody would hire you as a learner. All right. So you're going to have it on your profile that you are a Scrum Master working with Tenalytics. Because guess what? The same skills you are learning and you would learn at the end of the day are the same set of skills any other Scrum Master who has worked as a Scrum Master would also deploy in getting a project completed from start to finish. All right. So you would position yourself as a Scrum Master, and then you have more opportunities. And when they write a reference or they request for a reference from us, we provide that reference for you and you're able to get the job. Okay, so I'll move on to level 2 very quickly. And then a lot of you are asking, how much does it cost? What does it take for me to be a part of it? I'll talk about that after this slide. Level 2 includes the weekly mentorship. So every Thursday evening, you have your weekly mentorship sessions where either myself, the co-founder, Ifemena, other industry experts would work with you to help you understand the different things, different aspects, the different areas within the tech ecosystem. Something as simple as you applying and not getting a job. A lot of people get frustrated and want to quit the whole job searching process. I was discussing with somebody, I think that was last week. He completed his program in October and he felt very bad that he had not gotten a job yet. And he told me, oh, Adaiza, I completed my program in October, I haven't gotten a job. And I told him that, look, that is totally normal. Absolutely normal, right? So you need people. So what you want to do is you want to find out the reason why you're not getting the outcomes that you need. And what did we do? We simply did something we call job tracking. Okay, we implemented a job tracking application. So as you apply to jobs, you record the jobs you applied to. So you also keep a track of how many jobs do I apply to in a day? How many in a week? What type of jobs did I apply to? All right. And it's just a simple tool that you use to do this. So you need somebody who would be there to show you what to do to get those outcomes. And that's where the mentorship comes in. And of course, you have on-the-job support. Okay. You've gotten a job and you really need a soft landing, or you get a particular project that is very massive and you've never done this before. So you just need to know that I have people that I can count on. If I ever have a question, I know that I can go to Tenalytics to ask them. So that's the level 2. The final level, which is level 3, which we are implementing in 2024. We've never done this before. We are doing it for the very first time. And the confidence stems from the results we have gotten with respect to the strategy. You know, when you deploy a particular strategy, You follow the same framework for different people and you get the same outcome, you know that that strategy is a winning strategy. And level 3, what are we doing? It's a promise to you that 1 month after your program, you'll get an interview. I've had people who, somebody joined our program. I've said this story so many times. He was out of work in February 2023, and he had applied to different jobs in the UK, and he really couldn't get a job. He came to us around July that he wanted to join one of our programs. Okay. And what did we do? I first of all looked at his CV. Secondly, where is your LinkedIn profile? He did not have a LinkedIn profile. We worked with him to create one. Did his CV session, showed him what to do on his CV, make 1 or 2 changes here and there. Yes, he joined the program, but this was somebody who had worked as a business analyst for over 5 years in the UK. So he wasn't new to business analysis. It wasn't about his skills. It was more about the structure and the way he had couched his CV, and also the fact that he had no LinkedIn profile. We implemented these 2 strategies. In November, he joined in July, August, September, he completed his program with us, plus his internship. In November, he got a job with a company in the UK in the energy sector, U Energy. All right. So all these things from level 1 to level 2, it gets you to the final level where 1 month after your program, you get an interview for that particular career path you have decided to take. Okay. And of course, I talked about the internship already. This is where you get to work for 1 month working on a project, ensuring that you deploy that project and add it to your CV. So when you're asked, tell me, have you managed any project where a solution was built by a software developer to help address customer issues? You talk about the web application that you built, and it would sound so good because you actually did it, and it is a real project. All right. The new things we are adding for 2024, the Body Mentorship Hub. This is where people, our Tenalytics alumni who have done the same things you are trying to do, they've joined our program, completed the program, they've gotten jobs, they'll come back to help you. Okay, so apart from the mentorship sessions where you'd have myself, you'd have a Femena, you'd have other industry experts, you'd have these guys come back to you to help you make that switch. You're in the UK, for example, you're in Manchester, you are in Leeds, you need somebody who understands, who has been in your shoes, right? The person has done it, gotten a positive outcome. It's easier because your story would easily resonate with them, and you have that support system to help you navigate the space. You have enhanced internship experience. I talked about that already. And last but not the least is the partnerships we are having with different recruitment agencies to get you that interview. Okay, so what happens is you have a pool of talent from Tenalytics. You join the Tenalytics program, you join this pool. You now have the recruitment agencies. And what do they do? The agencies tap from this pool, okay? And they funnel you into companies across different regions that requires the skills that you have. So the chances of you getting that interview becomes a whole lot faster. Okay, so we have companies like Robert Half, we have Hayes in the UK, Robert Half in Canada, we have Manpower also in the UK, Conferry Kelly Services in the US as well to help make this happen. Okay, so these are some of the new things we have coming up in 2024. And our next cohort starts in February. The January cohort started, that was last weekend. We started the January cohort on the 6th of January. Okay, so they've done their first week. I'll show you that classroom. You'd see what they've done so far in the Scrum program. Okay, the next cohort starts on the 3rd of February, and this is the best time for you to get into the class. But what does it take to be a part of the Scrum Master Program at Tenalytics? We have a discount we have ongoing, running for 20 people, the first 20 people to join the February cohorts. The first 20 people to join the February cohort would enjoy this amazing discount. So the Scrum program is $450, all right? But the discounted fee is a whopping $100 discount. So instead of paying $450, you get to pay just $350 and you enjoy the discount of $100. And this is just for the first 20 people, not for everybody. All right. And you also have the option of paying it in 2 installments. The first installment of $250 and the second of $100. The second installment comes in 1 month after the program must have commenced. So your program starts 3rd of February. By the end of February, you would then be making the payment of $100. In pounds, you have £375 if you are making payments in pounds. And then you also get a phenomenal discount of 120 pound discount. So instead of paying 375, you get to pay just 295. All right, you get to pay just 295, and then you can make it in 2 installments of 295. If you are paying in Naira, you get to pay 540 for 20,000 discounted amount, 300 and 120. Now, once you make the first installment, what happens? You would get a confirmation and you get into the class. You receive a welcome kit. The welcome kit simply contains everything that you need to be in that class. Okay, you need to download and install a particular application, your learning plan, the timetable of your classes, and every single thing. You have that in your welcome kit. And your classes run on Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and on Sundays, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. All right. You have a professional facilitator in class to help you walk through all the nitty-gritty of becoming a Scrum Master. And how do you make payments? Very easy. All you have to do is click on this link and I'll show you how you can do that. All right. You click on this link and it takes you into where you can make payments. And I'll show you that very quickly. Now, remember, I promised I was going to show you some testimonials. I'll do that before we call it a day. Okay. Remember, this is for the first 20 people who will be registering for this February 3rd cohort. Now, a lot of people ask questions. If I have commitments in February, is it possible for me to defer the program to March? And the answer is yes, you can defer the program. The beauty is that you take advantage of the ongoing discounts. You lock in your discounts, okay, by paying the first deposits, you get into the class, and then you defer. So once you make payments, you don't want to start in February, you want to start in March. I'll show you where you'd select when you want to start. You can actually make the payments, get the February discounts, but instead of starting in February, you get to start in March. So let's click on the link. And this takes us to the Tenalytics Enrollment Center. And depending on how you want to pay in dollars, you want to pay in pounds, you want to pay in Naira, you have that opportunity to do that. And for those who would want to get the brochure, you want to see the details of the brochure, you can do that from here. Once you get to the Enrollment Center, you'd see Get Access to All Program Brochures. So if I click on this, it takes me to where I have the brochures and I'll see the Scrum Master brochure. I can click on that and you have the brochure to the program, okay? And I'll just scroll through this very quickly. So you see the brochure, who is a Scrum Master, the program overview, the curriculum, what you'd be learning. You start with the introduction, which is a deep dive. Introduction, traditional versus agile. We talked about that today. Traditional is your waterfall. Agile is the modern project management approach. What exactly is Scrum? What are the Scrum and Agile principles, the Scrum flow, the theory and values? All right, you'd move to the next one, the product backlog. Okay, the Scrum artifacts, increments, the sprint backlog, the Scrum events, your sprint planning, daily Scrum, and all these things. You'd see the nitty-gritty of all the things you are learning. All right. You have a 2 months learning journey, just like I mentioned, and we have all the other details that you need in here. Okay, and if you scroll down, you'd see who your facilitators are. You'd see Linda. Linda is a business analyst. She's also a Scrum Master who has worked with so many organizations across different regions. You have Oluwaseun, who is a product reliability engineer with Visa. He also has experience working as a Scrum Master here in the UK. You have Olabisi. Olabisi works with Access Bank. She's a Scrum Master and also an IT project manager. And you have fantastic, fantastic professionals that you'll be working with. Okay. So our cohorts in February starts on the 3rd of February. In March, on the 2nd of March. Okay. So you can take advantage of the discounts. Instead of starting in February, if you have any commitments, because we get that question at every time. So I'm just trying to answer the question before it comes up. You can defer to March, enjoy the discount in February. Okay. So how much does it cost to be in this program? We've looked at that. You've seen the discounts, but how do I make payments if I want to make payments? From the enrollment center, all you have to do is go to where you have if you want to pay in pounds or dollars or Canadian dollars, the non-Naira card payment is where you would see the link. So you can see the Scrum Master program. You click on full payment if you want to make the full payment, or initial payment. So let's assume I want to make the first part payment. Click on that. Okay, I want to make my first part payment. My first part payment. So I click on that. It takes me to the main stack, and I can then enter the amount I want to pay. If you go back to the slide, you'd see that the first part payment, if I want to make payment in pounds, is £200, and the next one is 95, which comes in 1 month after the program must have commenced. So I go to let's wait for it to load. So I'll show you how to make payments in pounds, in dollars, and how to also make payments in Naira for those who want to make payments using your card. You want to do a direct transfer and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is taking a while. So while this is loading, I'll show you very quickly. If I want to make payments in Naira, okay, all I have to look for is go to the Naira card payment. Okay, click on the link for the Naira card payment, first or full payment. You click on that, it takes you into the Paystack environment. And I would look for the Scrum Master program and click on Scrum. Okay, so and here I can select either the full payment or I can select the part payment. Okay, and when I do this, I click on Add to Bag, enter my details, check out, enter my details, and then I get to make payments. Once your payment goes through, you receive an automated receipt into your email, okay? And you need to upload that receipt. So once you receive the receipt into your email, all you have to do, still on this enrollment center, you'd see the link that says upload your receipts here. If you click on this link that says upload your receipts, it takes you to the form that you need to fill. Filling that form is where you would see if you want to defer or not, okay? So you enter your email, type of payment, click on next. I'm just going to show you very quickly. Enter your first name, enter your last name. Let me just do this. So I'll show you Suleiman, registered email. Let me just enter my Gmail. Okay, so you enter your email, gender, select the gender, male, click on next. Okay, so you keep on doing this. I have read the terms and conditions, click on next. When did you make payment? I made payment today, 11th of January. You upload the screenshots of your payment, your mode of payment. Let's assume I did a Naira transfer, direct transfer. I click on that, click on next. I need to upload a screenshot. So let me just upload any picture. So you take a screenshot, upload the detail of the payments. Let me just upload the screenshot. Okay, so you do that, upload your screenshots, click on next. came from my name. There is a Suleiman. Click on next. Which program are you registering for? I'm registering for the Scrum Master. Now, for some of you, you'd have questions around different other areas. I'm doing accounting. Is Scrum Master good for me? Oh, I've worked as a Scrum Master before, but I don't have the practical understanding. I want to work on projects. How will the project really help me? So you want to ask follow-up questions. You don't need to select anything. Just select what? I need to speak with a professional. And once you select this, and we receive your submission, would schedule you for a one-on-one clarity session where you can ask questions and so on. But for you to do that, you must have made payments, okay? So that you secure the discount, you secure your discounted slot. So I click on next again, and then I have the question, what cohorts do you intend joining? So I can join either on the 3rd of February, like I said, or the 2nd of March. And this is where I select when I want to start, okay? And you can also do the same. So that's the beauty of the platform. And like I mentioned earlier, still on this enrollment center, you have the direct payment. If you want to transfer into a Naira account, you have the Fidelity Bank account. If you want to transfer make a direct transfer into the pound account, you can also do the same. You have the direct transfer using this account details. Okay. I'll just check to see if this link is open. So this is the link. I want to make my first payment of 200. So I can also assume if I don't have 200 pounds to pay today, but I want to secure my discount. I want to be one of the first 20 people. The minimum amount you can pay is 124.5 pounds. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'll just come here and maybe rather than paying 200, because maybe I have just 150, I'll type in 150. Okay, if I have the first installment of 200, I type in 200. As long as your first installment is above the minimum, you can secure your discount with that. All right, but just remember that you must complete that first installment before the class starts on the 3rd of February. Okay, so let's assume I have 180 pounds. I enter that, click on reserve a seat, and then I can enter my email, enter my full name, enter my phone number, click on proceed, and then I can get to make payments. Okay, once you make payments with this platform as well, 180 pounds, that's what I want to pay today to secure my discount. You also receive an automated receipt into your email, the email you have provided. Remember, go back to the form in the enrollment center, fill the form, let us know when you want to start. If you need to speak with a professional, select I need to speak with a professional, and we will be available to speak with you. All right, I'm going to take questions before we call it a day. And I also want you to listen to one person, okay? One of the amazing, amazing professionals that I have on my slide. I want you to listen to at least one of them that have been able to make the switch. Let me see who you can listen to very quickly. The lawyer is about 3 minutes. I want something shorter. Okay, I want something shorter. Let's see. I'm spoiled for choice, okay, because there's so many people that have done amazing stuff. But so that we don't waste too much time, let's listen to the lawyer, okay? He's a lawyer. His name is Tammy Vaughn. Tammy joined our program as a lawyer and he left as a business analyst, okay? So let's listen to him. I'm going to click on this link and then we'll listen to Tammy, okay? Where is Tammy? Sorry. I need to be sure that you can hear me. Okay, this is what I'll do very quickly. I'll go to Tammy Vaughn Analytics. All right. Okay, so I just go to, you can also do the same. Just go to YouTube, search for Tenalytics, go to our page, and then you'd see all the amazing professionals and all the things, all the amazing journey, the amazing stories, and what they've been able to achieve. So I'll just quickly go to Tammy's video so you can get to see Tammy. You'd see testimonials, click on testimonials. It takes you to the numerous testimonials for different people who have joined the program. So you see, listen to how she landed a job as a HR analyst. Also listen to Victor, phenomenal story. But I'll just go to Tammy. Okay, my journey with Analytics has been life transforming. So let's listen to Tammy very quickly. I'll share my audio so you can all hear what Tammy is saying. All right. So 3 minutes. Okay. What's going on? All right. So 3 minutes, we're going to listen to Tammy, and then I'll come back to take all the questions that you have. Right, so let me put on the audio and be sure that you can all hear the audio. So sit back, relax, listen to Tammy, and then let's take questions and call it a day.
Hello everyone, I hope you are good. My name is Timmy Vaughn. I am a lawyer, and thanks to Tenalytics, I am now a business analyst. Now, I'm not doing this video because it is compulsory to do it, but because my journey with Tenalytics has been life transforming, and I want to share that with you. I remember I first of all encountered Tenalytics on Instagram, and I joined their free Zoom session, and that session was very convincing. Even the information they shared during the session was very, very useful. I didn't join the first time, right? But the second session that I had with them, I was convinced and decided to join. And from the registration point to the welcome package and everything, they were very, very warm and welcoming. Every time I had issues, I could walk up, message any of the staff, and they solved it with no hassle at all. Even during the sessions, the facilitators were very, very patient people. I've never seen a group of people who were that patient. We're about 20 something in class, and they ensured that every single person was carried along. You had questions, taking them back, they would always answer it with patience. The whole session was mind-blowing, and this is the honest truth. Now, we're in an era where some certain skills are really required. Skills like business analysis, data engineering. And so my advocacy to you is whatever you are doing, you need one or two of these skills. Now, if you want to learn these skills, I don't think there's any other place you can learn it other than Tenalytics. Now, these are some of the reasons why. One, apart from the fact that the organization will take you through the rudiments, they will equip you with the skills needed to succeed in whatever course that you're taking. Another thing is that they help you to navigate through the tech world, especially if you've never been in the tech space before. They take you through how to write your CV properly, how to make sure that your LinkedIn is updated. Also, another interesting thing is that apart from the sessions on teaching you the skills and taking you through the course, they have various sessions, mentoring session, what to expect when you go for an interview. In fact, if you have an interview, right, maybe you've applied for a job and you have an interview, you can actually send the organization an email or a message and ask them to do trial interview for you. And most of them, they are experts. Like, they've been in this thing doing it for years. So they know the questions that you'll be asked. So they help you, literally taking your hand and helping you through it till you are able to succeed. And the good thing about this, again, they have an alumni group. So even when you are stuck, maybe you're already working and you are stuck, you can always message any of your facilitators to say, how can I go through this? So it's not just an organization that is concerned about your money. They are really concerned about you succeeding in whatever it is that you do. Just because I have taken this course, right, apart from applying for jobs and all of that, everything I do now, I make sure that it is data driven, right? Even in the organization that I run personally, I run a social enterprise, I make sure that I now have the skills to, when I'm asking a question using Google form, I'm able to elicit information, data, and analyze the data to make informed decisions. So my mindset has really been transformed. Apart from the skills that I have, everything I'm doing, I'm making sure that it is data driven so that I can make informed decisions. Honestly speaking, if you really want to advance, right, I think that one of the places you should be is really Tenalytics, because they just don't teach you the course that you've registered for, but they take your hand and ensure that you succeed. Have a great life.
Okay, so that's Timmy. You've all heard Timmy. Timmy is a very, very passionate individual. And you, of course, got to hear what he had to say about his experience. He's a lawyer, did business analysis, and is thriving, doing a phenomenal work within that area. Okay, so that's Timmy's story. If you look at the YouTube, you have a whole lot of videos, a whole lot of transitioning stories, how they were able to transition. So come in here, go to YouTube, search Analytics, listen to all the story, listen to Taiwo, how Taiwo was able to transition from a teacher, being a teacher in the UK, to a data analyst, right? And that's how the Scrum program as well. So many professionals. We started the Scrum program this January. So we have our first set of participants in class as we speak. The next class starts in February for the new cohorts, helping another crop of professionals to make that transition into Scrum, into becoming Scrum Masters. All right. So I'm going to take a pause at this point in time and I'll take questions. So if you have questions, please feel free. You can raise your hand. I'll call you up to speak and take your questions. I'll take the very first question I can see from Mohammed or Muya. So Mohammed, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Please go ahead with your question. You can also type a question in the chat if you don't want to
Okay.
unmute to speak as well. Okay.
Good day, everyone.
Hello,
So,
Mohammed.
thank you for this wonderful session. So, I would like to ask because you said if someone need a professional advice pertaining to the course he would like to take. Let's, for example, you said we need to pay before you can talk to a professional. So,
Yes.
let's assume maybe I pick a data analyst program now. Maybe after talking to a professional, then he advised me to go for maybe project management. So, and of which maybe the payment is different. There's differential in the payment. So how are we going to do it? So is there any way to switch for it?
It's, it's a very
And
simple. Go on.
secondly, does project management and Scrum Master, are they the same? Does that mean if someone do a project management program, does that mean someone also need to do a Scrum Master program?
Okay. Very good question, Mohammed. So let me take the first one. You can switch anytime. Okay. And what does it take to switch? So let's assume you've paid for the Scrum Master program, which is cheaper than data analytics. So you've paid for Scrum and you decided during your one-on-one session that you'd rather go for data analytics. So what we do during the one-on-one is not to tell you that this is what you must do. We show you the options and we give you suggestions based on your current situation, your previous experience, if it is relevant and so on, and you make the decision eventually. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you want to switch from Scrum to data analytics or vice versa. All right. We make that available for you to switch. And if you need to add anything to what you've paid before, maybe just a fraction, you add. If you made the full payment for a program, let's assume you paid for the data analytics. The data analytics is $600. You pay $600, but you eventually decided that, oh, I would go for the Scrum Master program. The Scrum Master is $450, the discounted fee. So it means that you have overpaid by $150. Would refund you the $150. All right. And if you've paid $450 for Scrum, that's enough to get you into the data analytics if you decide to switch. And all you have to do is pay up the balance of the 150 1 month after you start your program. So you can always switch. It's not a problem at all. Okay. We usually have our one-on-one clarity sessions on Tuesdays, every Tuesdays. So we have those sessions in the afternoons and in the evenings. So you select the time that is suitable for you. And if none of the timing is suitable, you send us an email and we provide an avenue for you to meet with you and help you make a decision Very good question about project management and Scrum. If I'm a project manager, do I need to change? Do I need to learn something? Yes, I'll tell you that. On paper, the answer could be no, but in reality, the answer is yes. And I'll tell you the reason why. Now, let's do this very simple exercise, Mohammed. Not you, let me use somebody else, because in this part of the world, we're very careful about when you say something about a particular individual, especially when it's related to medical issues. So there is a gentleman, there is a man that has constant headache. Okay, a constant headache. And he's gone to see so many doctors and so on and so forth. And he has two major options. The first option is to see a general practitioner, okay? A GP. Let's just call it a GP. Let me erase this. So the first option is just to see a GP. That's just a general doctor. And the second option is to see a neuro surgeon, okay? Somebody that knows about the brain. What goes on in the head, in your brain. Out of these two, who would you suggest that this person who has serious, constant headache, who would you suggest that he goes to see to give him advice? Mohammed, I don't know if you're still muted or unmuted. Okay. I've asked you to unmute Mohammed. Who would you suggest that this gentleman goes to see?
The first one is what?
The GP or the
General.
neurosurgeon?
I
Okay.
think I'll suggest the neurosurgeon.
The neurosurgeon, because the neurosurgeon is an expert when it comes to what happens in the brain and so on and so forth, okay? And that's exactly the same thing. A project manager is a GP, knows everything. They are both doctors. They went to medical school, but one person is specialized with the brain. This particular guy here is specialized in the brain. So if you have problems that is specific to a particular area or aspect with the brain, you go see the neurosurgeon. If it's just a general issue, you go see a general practitioner. Now, as a project manager, you're going to learn you're going to learn different methodologies, not just two. You'd also learn Agile, okay? You would learn Waterfall, but the difference is you would not learn Agile as in-depth as the Scrum Master. So it's like taking two people from medical school. One person is a general practitioner. The other person decides to go do neurosurgery or obstetrics and gynecology. That person is focused on a specific area. So he's an expert in that area. And that's the difference between the project manager and the Scrum Master. The project manager can easily transition because he or she already understands the different techniques, the different methodologies, the different approaches and so on. And it's just to focus a little bit more on one area, which is Agile. And I can tell you for a fact, in the tech ecosystem, if you are a project manager and the other person is a Scrum Master for a particular project management role, they would pick that Scrum Master because the Scrum Master would have more experience and also have more, higher level of expertise leveraging the Agile approach compared to the project manager. So that's what I would say. So on paper, the project manager learns Agile, but that's not the focus. Just like the general practitioner on paper also learns all the areas in medicine. However, the neurosurgeon will do a better job working on the brain, working on anything that's related to that aspect of the human body. So I don't know if that answers the question for you, Mohammed. Does that help in any way? I think you've muted yourself again. But if you have questions, I think only Mohammed has asked the question so far. I'll
Thank
check
you.
the chat.
The question is clear.
It helped, absolutely. Thank you very much for that. Somebody's asking Chiamaka, the cost of the Scrum, does it include? It doesn't include the certification. The certification exam, you will do that separately. Okay, that's a different ball game entirely, right? What we do, Chiamaka, is to prepare you for the exams. Okay, we prepare you for the PSM examination. It doesn't include the cost of the certification. All right. Somebody's asking, is it just for Scrum Masters? What if you're interested in HR analytics? We offer 9 different programs, TK, 9 different programs, all right? But this particular session, if you look at the topic, it is getting into tech as a Scrum Master. So it's specific to the Scrum Master role. And that's why you don't hear me talking about all the other roles. Okay, we're going to have multiple sessions on all the other different aspects as a data engineer, as a data analyst, as a data scientist. So depending on what you want, the program you want to join, you'd have the opportunity to join one of our sessions. Okay, I talked about job applications, all right? And I promised those in the UK, I was going to show you something very quickly. All you need to do is go to any job board, all right? It could be Indeed, it could be Total Jobs, ZipRecruiter if you're in the US. This is read.co.uk. Search for the Scrum Master role. I'm just going to type Scrum, all right, or Scrum Master. And I'm just going to click on that and search for jobs. Okay, search for jobs. Now, what I want to do here is I want to tailor my search to remote work, or maybe let's make it contract before we even make it remote. Contract. So I'll look for a filter that says contract. All right. So currently I have 87 job roles I can apply to for the Scrum Master role on this particular page today. I'm going to click on contract. Okay. Because this is me wanting to earn a whole lot of money for myself. And the easiest way for you to do this is working as a contractor. So as a contractor, you don't have the luxury of getting a pension and getting all those other benefits. So everything is paid to you. And that's why you see that you make a whole lot more than the full-time employee. All right. So you can see this role, this particular job role, it says 350 to 400 pounds per day. This says 550 to 600 pounds per day. This was 9 hours ago. So let's look at this particular job and let's check the requirements and see. For a job that would pay me 550 pounds to 600 pounds, what exactly does it entail? Can I get this job? Can I apply? So let's open it up and see. So I right click, open in a new tab. And let's see the job role. Okay, so it's a Scrum Master role somewhere in Southampton. All right. It's contract. So usually what happens, you would have an initial period, 6 months initial. So they want to use this to test you and see how well you do. All right. And after that, they could make it a two-year program based on extension, maybe 1 year at a time. You have the next contract for 1 year, and then the other one for 1 year. Or if you're lucky enough, you have a 2-year, straight contract to work with them. Responsibilities, you'll be managing the work stream of 2 teams alongside another Scrum Master. Okay. You would assess the Agile maturity and implement changes where necessary. And you'd also be hands-on, organizing teams, working alongside infrastructure and third-party suppliers. What's the experience? What do they need from you? They need you to have worked in an Agile environment, okay? Ideally, implemented Agile framework in an immature environment. You should have worked with cross-functional teams and on cross-functional projects. So cross-functional teams, you've worked with software developers, you've worked with data analysts, you've worked with HR analysts, you've worked with team members across different other areas. Experience within retail is a bonus. So perhaps this company is in the retail industry. It's not compulsory, but it is what? A bonus. If you have it, well, it's a nice to have, not a must have. Now look at the experience and tell me, if you are good, you've learned the tools, you've learned the techniques, you've worked on the project, why can't you apply to this role? And a lot of people have this thing we call the imposter syndrome and feel that they can't get this job. They are inadequate. They don't think that they have the skills. And we've had so many of our participants apply to jobs like this and you get it. I've worked as a contractor myself and a femena because this is where you make the money. Okay? You don't focus on sponsorship. You focus on this. You make the money. You earn £600 per day. £600 per day. Okay, so this is one. And of course, you can check for so many other roles and you'd see this. This was 2 days ago. The salary is not there, negotiable. This is another role, also in Southampton, 500 to 700 pounds per day. Let's check this. This was posted yesterday. So let's check this as well. It's a recent job upload. And let's see the requirements. So maybe some people would say, oh, they require something unbelievable. All right. So this is 700 pounds, 6 months contract with potential to extend, hybrid 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 times per week. And this is even the beauty. So this particular job role has remote work opportunities. So you don't have to be in the office every day. It's either you're in the office 2 times or 3 times per week, which is, you can negotiate these things. We have one of our participants who lives in Gloucester. I can't remember, I can't pronounce it properly, Gloucester, and he works in London. He only goes to the office once in 2 months, once every 2 months. And why does he have to go to the office? Just so that he has that interaction with his colleagues. And that's some, you have these opportunities when you work remotely. Now let's look at what they are looking for. For this particular role, I'll pay you £700 per day. Excellent communication skills, experience working in an immature agile environment. So when you see this, it means that they haven't deployed the agile methodology in the way they do things. So they want somebody who has the knowledge to come help them deploy and work on this. And that's you. Okay, so maturing the agile capabilities within the business. And that's all they need from you. Nothing out of place, nothing unbelievable that nobody here can do. All right. So these are some of the opportunities available. And all you need to do, like I said earlier, just do a search, demand for Scrum Masters in the UK. And the best place you'd get these jobs is on LinkedIn. Okay, you go on LinkedIn, you get these jobs on LinkedIn. So the last thing I'll do is show you the class that started. The class that started last week, I'll show you their class very quickly. So you see what they've done. Okay, so let's go to their classroom and see what they have done. So when you join, you'd see what the learning experience looks like or would look like for you. So you see the Scrum Master cohorts 2024-01, January 2024. So let's open up this classroom and let's see what they have been up to so far. Okay. So they've had their first week 1. You can see that in there. Of course, the first thing when you register is you have your onboarding materials where you have your welcome kits. You only get this welcome kit after you have made payment. Contains everything you need to get started. First class is Introduction to Scrum. Let's look at the class material. So the class material, let's look at the facilitator for this class. Okay, so they had Introduction to Scrum and the facilitator is Josephine. Like I was mentioning earlier, I don't want to mention the company she works for a company in Africa that has operations across the globe. She supervises teams that works remotely in India and also in the UK. And I can bet you, if you're a Nigerian, I can bet you if you've lived in West Africa, you have used an application that has been deployed by Josephine. Okay, she has over 10 years experience working in the agile industry. She's a certified Scrum Master, worked in different sectors, currently works with one of the largest fintech firms in Africa. She's your facilitator for the Scrum Master program. So she took them on the introduction to Scrum, and you can see waterfall, agile, the different things you need to understand. We talked about a couple of them today. introduction to project management. You understand all these things. What is a project? And they had an assignment over the week. So that's the slides, okay? And of course, you have the recording. So if for any reason you missed this class or you miss any class, the class recording is available for you. All you have to do is come here, watch the recording, get yourself up to speed, and then you are good to go for the next class, all right? Of course, you have the Scrum Guide materials. These materials was provided for everybody who joined, okay? It's called the Scrum Guide, and that would help you getting into the role of a Scrum Master. They continued with Introduction to Scrum, the second class, which happened on Sunday, 2 to 5 p.m., okay? You can see that over here. You can see the recording, and they had a session, the mentorship session I talked about, and the mentorship session is on what? Goal setting. All right, it's a new year. We're in the second week in January. You want to set your goals for the new year. I want to become a Scrum Master. I want to become a data analyst. So this is what they are doing currently in the mentorship session. All right, goal setting, and that's what they have today. Mentorship is every Thursday. Every Thursday evenings, you have the mentorship session. So this is what class looks like. If you click on the classroom, if I can open one of the recordings, you'll see how the class went on Sunday, the second class on Introduction to Scrum. Okay, and you have, like I said, amazing trainers who are experts in their own rights, and they help you also make that transition. Okay, so if we have any other questions, I'll take the questions before we call it a day. We have just 5 minutes and then we wrap up. Please share the course topics or outline. I think I shared that already. My colleagues have sent that. So Ebele, if you can send that to the chat again one more time. All right. All you need to do is go to the link. Okay, just go to the link. iPhone, I can't see your name, but just go to the link where you have the enrollment, the Tenalytics enrollment over here. And all you need to do at the very top, you'd see get access to all program brochures. Or you can go to our website, okay, tenalytics.io. Go to the website and get access to the details of these programs, okay? So you go to the website, go to learn, instructor-led classes, go to instructor-led classes. This takes you to our instructor-led programs, okay? Look for the Scrum Master program, view course details, and this shows you the details for the Scrum Master. So you see all the things you're going to learn, okay? Introduction to Scrum, the program would cover this. Number 2, Scrum artifacts, Scrum events, and you can also download the brochure from here, okay? Click on download brochure, and this takes you to the brochure. So you can either get it from the website or you can get it from the link we have shared. Now, the reason why it's also good for you to use the link we have shared, we use that to track the number of people that have made payments, okay? But in terms of the brochure, the content, you can get that very easily on the website. I hope I answered that question for the person that was asking the other time, okay? Right. Obirunke said, your payment has been, okay, no. Ebele, okay, I think Obirunke is saying something. I'm not sure I saw the message, but I think Ebele must have answered Obirunke. Okay, so we're going to call it a day at this point. And one thing I always advise people to do is, you have a colleague, you have a brother, you have a sister, you have a friend that you think can benefit from this. Share the message with them. Okay, share the message with them, help them get into tech, help them transition from that job they are doing that they don't want to do into a job that is more progressive, and they can have a very good career path. You can work from home. I have a friend who always says that the Scrum Master profession is for women. I don't share that same sentiment, but he says so because this is a job role that you can learn within a very short period and you can work remotely. So you don't even have to go to the office. So you can take care of your home, stay at home, work from home, earn money as a professional most of the time even higher than the some other areas in the data ecosystem or in the tech ecosystem, but then you get to work from home. That's some of the beauty that you have. Okay, so follow us on all our social media platform, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. Watch those testimonials. You'd absolutely love to hear the transitioning journey and how we have been able to help so many people make the cut, help so many people transition from a career path into a new career path, or transition into a new job completely. Okay, would call it a day at this point, and I want to say, Shadrach is asking, can someone with any tech skill, you don't need any skill to be a part of the program. You don't need to have any skill. So if we require a particular skill for you to join the program, then it is not a career path that would enable people to easily transition. Okay, because it means you must have worked before, or you must have done something. There must be a prerequisite. And you've seen all the things I listed. What does it take to implement some of the Scrum ceremonies, like sprint planning? Sprint planning is where you sit down together. You could have the session on Teams. You could have it over Zoom, just like we are having, and you have different professionals come together and discuss the different features, the most important features that needs to be delivered within the next 2 weeks. You don't need any special type of, superpowers or skills to learn that. All you need to do is to learn the frameworks, learn the techniques, what are the steps you need to take. You understand all those things, and then you are able to transition. It is 100% beginner friendly. All the programs we offer, 100% beginners friendly. And that's why your first class is not sprints. Your first class is not sprint planning. Your first class is not daily Scrum. Your first class is introduction to what? Scrum. Introduction to Scrum. That's the first thing you do. So you get to understand all the different terminologies. What does it take? You have the waterfall versus agile, the different methodologies, the project manager versus the scrum master. You learn all those things, and that's where the journey starts from. Okay, so you don't just move into the technical stuff. You understand the rudiments and the background before you take it up a notch. So you don't need any skill. There's no prerequisites for you to make the cut. We all started from there too. We all started from there. I transitioned into data analytics. I had no skills in data analytics, but you start from the beginning and then you get your way to becoming a tech professional. All right. I'm going to call it a day at this point, and I want to say a big thank you to everybody who has joined and stayed up until this moment. Remember, you have the opportunity to take advantage of the discount that exists. Lock in the discount. I want to see you in class on the 3rd of February. Get that journey into tech started. I want you to leave that care job that you don't want to do. Leave that warehouse job, okay? Get a job and work remotely. Earn fantastic salaries that you never imagined you could earn, okay? Leave that Deliveroo job, Uber Eats, and get a proper job helping you transition into the tech ecosystem. That's my mission. My mission is to help as many Africans, people of the Black community, to get into the tech ecosystem, where we start to get professionals, just like you have the Indians today across the IT, the tech ecosystem. We want to bring in Africans and people of the Black community. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I look forward to seeing you in so many other more masterclasses. Enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers, everybody.